Hello, welcome to my November wrap-up. I am recording clips as I read again this month. I think that format works really well for me. Probably what I'm going to do moving forward. Anyway, the first book I read this month was Birds Are Life by Maclear. This was a really interesting one. This is nonfiction. It's a memoir about a woman who her father gets very sick, and she kind of finds escape through bird watching. And it's a book about bird watching, but it's not really about bird watching or birds. This was really interesting. This was the pick this past month for Life's Library Book Club, and I enjoyed it. It was all right. I think it was really well done, and maybe just wasn't totally for me. It's written almost kind of like a scrapbook. There's all these different ideas and formats and playing with structure a lot. But it's really rooted in meditation and nature. And I found it really calming to read. It was a very chill book. It's a quick book. It's not very long at all. I read it in like a day. But it was really well done, I think. It just wasn't necessarily for me. I worked on a documentary for about a year and a half all about bird watching that I wrapped about a year ago, and I don't really want to think about bird watching again for a long time. So I was a bit surprised that I was willing to pick this book up, and I did really enjoy it. I learned some things, but I found it really, it's a very calming reading experience. It's a good book if you're struggling at all. If you find peace in nature, this book is going to be really good for you, I think. So yeah, that's Birds Are Life, an interesting memoir, interesting structure. Just wasn't necessarily for me. Anyway, moving on. I'll see you in the next clip. Okay, little update. It is now November 19th, so we're getting ways in the month. Still haven't read a ton, but I have two books. Oh, hello. Ernie. Chill. I have two books that I've finished, both ebooks. So the first one is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This is kind of a horror novel. It's set in the 90s. It's about a book club, obviously, a suburban, mom book club. And they suspect that a new man who's moved to town might be a vampire. And it's kind of about this one kind of main character trying to convince the other members of the book club that they need to do something with this vampire that's terrorizing the town. Anyway, this was really fun. It was a great premise. Hey, so yeah, it was an interesting premise. I really liked kind of what Grady Hendrix was doing. It was a lot gorier than I expected, but overall it was Overall, it was a good read. I didn't love it though; it wasn't my favorite. Especially, I found there was a time jump halfway through, and I found it really lost momentum from that time jump. So I didn't think that was necessary for the plot really at all. Ouch. But yeah, overall, I think I give it 3 stars. It was all right. Not my favorite. Good entry into horror. Kind of fun. Interesting premise, but ultimately, I didn't love it. It was a bit longer than it needed to be, and the premise kind of derailed a bit. Anyway, I am going to talk about the second book later once the puppy has calmed down, because he's currently attacking my arm with his razor blade teeth. So we'll be back soon. Hi, it's the next day, but the dog is chill now, so I will continue on with what I have read. The next book I read is called Devil House by Darnielle. This I got as an ARC from NetGalley. I'm not sure exactly when it's out. I think December. So you might be able to read it soon. Maybe early in the new year. Anyway, this is a fiction novel. It is all about this kind of true crime writer who goes to this small town to, write about a crime or several crimes that have happened in this town. And he buys and moves into a house that's kind of central to a lot of the action and the stories that he's trying to tell. So it's kind of about that. I thought this was going to be a horror novel. It's not really a horror novel. I'm not really sure what I would call this. It had a very similar structure to Cloud Atlas. If you've read that, it kind of started a story, then started another story, then started another story, and then worked its way back. Kind of telling the story of the writer who's investigating, but also the events of these crimes leading up to his arrival in the town. I didn't love it. I didn't love this book. It didn't really grip me. I was really intrigued at the beginning, but I found it really lost momentum halfway through, similar to the other book I read this month. But yeah, it wasn't a huge hit for me. It felt like it was very interesting, the things that the author was doing, playing with structure of the novel, the Cloud Atlas format. But it didn't really work. I found some of the sections so boring and so hard to get through, especially one in particular. I guess would be the third story that is being told. But yeah, it was okay. It didn't grip me as much as I hoped it would. Something that seemed like a thriller would, but it's not really. It's just kind of here's some stuff that happened. The Devil House title, there wasn't really much, if any, supernatural occurrences that I was kind of hoping for. So yeah, that was a bit of a disappointment, but it was still well done. I really appreciated what he was doing with the novel. It just wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and wasn't really what I was looking for right now. Anyway, I'm going to get back to reading. I'm done work for the day and have some time to read, so I'm going to take it because I haven't really had much time to read at all. So I'll talk to you in a bit. I wanted to pop in real quick and just say that there is one more book that I read this month. It was a DNF. I didn't finish it. It was called Our Country Friends. I can't remember the author's name. Gary Shteyngart. I think he's a pretty successful writer. I haven't read any of his other books. This was a book about a group of friends, acquaintances, colleagues, just a group of 10 people, all quarantining in the same country house at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. It went way too much into the nitty-gritty of COVID-19 for my enjoying. I was hoping it was going to keep that vague, but it wasn't. I did not need to relive March 2020 right now in a book, so I stopped reading it. The characters seem like they might be interesting. I'm sure they get up to some sort of hijinks and their relationships with each other are going to grow. But I made it 25% of the way through and I had to stop. I couldn't do that anymore. I've decided that I know that in my last video, I said that I really wanted to challenge myself with my reading and I wanted to read more things that make me think. And that is true. I do want that. But I think I need some escapist literature in between. So I don't get burnt out. And this was not escapist at all. So we're leaning into genre for the rest of the year, I think. I've picked up some sci-fi. I've picked up some fantasy. We're mixing things up. We're stirring the pot. But yeah, Our Country Friends, I needed a break. I couldn't do it right now. Maybe in 5 years it'll be different, but right now is too soon. Yeah, that is that. All right, my last entry. It's the first day of December now, wrapping this up. I have 2 more books that I read. I'm excited to share with you. The next one is Matrix by Lauren Groff. This was a really interesting one. I've never read Lauren Groff before. This is a new one that just came out a few months ago. This is about Marie, who is a nun. And I didn't think that I'd like a book about a nun working in a convent, but I really enjoyed it. It's kind of chronicles her entire life. It's queer. It's interesting. It's really not religious. It's more about kind of the social life of the convent and how Marie kind of brings the convent to thrive. It's medieval. It's not contemporary in the slightest, but it was really interesting. It's really, the history of it all is very well researched. I really enjoyed it. It was fast paced. I flew through this one. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was Matrix by Lauren Groff. And then the last book, hold on one second. The last book I read is Autumn by Ali Smith. I've also never read any Ali Smith, so I was excited to read this one. I think I'm going to try reading each of the seasons, like in the season that they happen. So I just got in the nick of time for Autumn because it's snowing today, December 1st. But I really enjoyed Autumn as well. This one was, it's about a girl named Elizabeth. And kind of her, she's like a 20-something or early 30s, I think. And her lifelong relationship with her elderly neighbor who lived next door to her. And kind of the two of them, how they kind of learned from each other. And he basically lived next door to her whole life. Sorry about the dog. But yeah, I think what's happening with the seasonal quartet is that it's different stories for each entry. There might be a bit of like crossover, but overall they're standalone stories. I really enjoyed this one. It took place the summer that Brexit happened, so there was a lot of commentary on Brexit and kind of not really knowing or seeing that your neighbors aren't who you thought they were. I really liked it. There's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of attention to like very specific details that I think worked really well. There's a very lengthy section of Elizabeth trying to get her passport renewed, and it's I don't know, it's mundane, but I really enjoyed this book. Anyway, that is Autumn by Ali Smith, and that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I think I'm going to be doing some vlogs in December, so please stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. I'm getting back into the swing of things with YouTube, BookTube. More videos are coming, I promise. I actually have a couple that I filmed a long time ago that I might post, but I might not. We'll see. There's definitely stuff coming, though, so stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.